Hey guys, I'm back with part 3 of my Blu-ray collection. Let's not take too long, let's get right into this. Okay, so starting out right off the bat, I got 2 new Blu-rays since we last spoke. So, April Fool's Day is the first one. It's the collector's edition from Scream Factory. It's got a nice creative little cover there. Try and get it out of the glare. Little Barbie dolls. The head's in the glass. This is an older one that I recently saw and I was a fan of, and then it happened to be on sale on Scream Factory, so I picked it up. And even though it wasn't a new release, they still had the slip covers for it, so nice. And then Freaky was one that came out last October that I saw in theaters and thought it was pretty good, so I wanted to go out of my way to pick that one up. Vince Vaughn plays the Jason Voorhees like killer, and it's basically Freaky Friday but a horror version, and it's pretty good. It's pretty funny, so I wanted to add that one to my collection. Okay, so I'm running out of room on my shelves, so I have some that I kind of been piling up top there, and these were the ones that were on top, so I want to get these out of the way first. Saw 8 film collection. This was at Walmart the other day, and it had a neat little slip cover on it, and I didn't have any of the Saw films except for Jigsaw and Blu-ray, so I thought I'd just pick it up. It wasn't too expensive, and so now I have them all on Blu-ray. It's not my favorite franchise, but I do enjoy the occasional Saw film. Not so much the gore, but I like the twists and turns of the storytelling. Now we got Pitch Black. This is a steelbook, and I got this from Best Buy. The original Pitch Black, I know they made a series out of it, and I'm not a big fan of Chronicles of Riddick or Riddick really, but the original one is more of a horror film, and it's pretty creative. It's got some sci-fi elements, but it's definitely a horror film at heart, and that is Pitch Black. Then we got Ready or Not. Ready or Not was one that came out last year that was pretty good. If you missed Ready or Not, check it out. But this one was great. It came out the same year as The Hunt, and they were kind of similar movies. But I think Ready or Not has a little more comedy and will be more well received by most people. And then Poseidon. A lot of people don't like this movie. It's a remake of the Poseidon Adventure, and I like it. It's not the deepest film, but pun intended there. Jonas will appreciate that pun, or he won't. But I own it. Anyway, so where are we at? We're over here. It Follows. It Follows is great. I'm jealous. I don't have Jonas's fancy steelbook, and I could have picked that up from Walmart for like $7 at one point, and I just didn't, and I'm so mad at myself for not doing that. I should have done that. At the time, I was not a big fan of the art, and I was like, I'm sure I'll find something better down the road. And then the more I saw it, I was kind of like, dang, that art's actually not that bad. I kind of like it. So, Davos, what are you doing? Get out of here. Get out of here, cat. Sorry about that. But It Follows, one of the best horror films in the last 10 years or whatever. Definitely check out It Follows if you're a fan of horror and haven't heard of it. I'm not going to really get into the plot. I don't want to spoil things. Invitation. Invitation is one that I saw on Netflix, and I was pretty satisfied with it. This is about a cult, and it's about a cult and how some friends react to finding out that one of their good friends may or may not be involved in something malicious. Jigsaw I already talked about this, and I have apparently a double now. I'm pretty sure the 8 film includes Jigsaw. But this is one that I was gifted around the time it came out. It's okay. A lot of the Saw movies are okay. Some of them are worse than okay, but Jigsaw's okay. Krampus. Krampus is wonderful. I had to get this on Blu-ray. I don't remember when or where I picked this up. I probably had this one for a while. But Krampus is... I'm not a big fan of Christmas movies in general, let alone Christmas horror movies. But this one is great. So, if that says anything for you. Last Shift. So, this movie, I hunted all over for this movie. And this kind of has an odd backstory. So, I would go to Family Video a lot. And I remember browsing the shelves and the new releases and reading the synopsis for a horror movie that looked kind of low budget. And so I didn't rent it because I was like, oh, it's probably not that great. I put it back, and then I was on Netflix and I was reading through movies on Netflix, and I was like, hey, I think this, after reading the synopsis, I was like, I think this is that movie that I almost got from Family Video. So knowing very little about it, I jumped into it, and that movie was The Last Shift, and it blew me away. Like, I loved this movie. It was really good. Genuinely scary and creepy. Part of that could have been that I didn't know what I was getting into and I expected a kind of a bad movie. But it was really good. So I tracked it down. I looked at all sorts of Family Videos because I thought I saw it at Family Video. So of course that's where I looked. I'm like, I know they carry them. And I went to so many different Family Videos all around. And I finally found a copy, but as it turns out, I don't think this was that same movie. I think it just had a similar synopsis. Because typically, if a movie's got something disturbing on the cover, like this guy here, I usually pass it up because my thought initially is just, they had to use shock value to get my attention, so the movie must not actually be that good. So I usually skip over stuff like that. So I wouldn't have picked that up in Family Video. I had to have been looking at a different movie that was similar. But so it's just a happy coincidence there. Life. I saw this in theaters and I loved it. It's Jake Gyllenhaal, Ryan Reynolds, creepy alien movie. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful movie. And Scorpion's in it. So, yeah. Check it out if you like alien horror, because it's wonderful. Lights Out. This movie was based on a creepy internet video, a short internet video, and they made a whole movie out of it. This movie isn't great, but I wanted to see it, and it was one of those movies where it was almost as cheap to buy it as it was to track it down just to see it. So I ended up just picking it up from a garage sale or something. Mama's one that I haven't seen in a long time, but I remember really liking it. And it's got Nikolai Coster-Waldau in it. There he is. And he actually plays twin brothers in it, which is interesting. So there's that, Mama. Now we got the Nightmare on Elm Street collection. Jonas has the same one, I think. I've only watched the second one from this set. I've seen them all at one point or another. But Leanna hasn't seen most of the Nightmare films, so we'll probably make our way down the list. But I know that they only get worse. The first one is the best, hands down. Everybody knows that, right? And then Wes Craven's New Nightmare is my personal favorite. So all the ones in between to me are kind of another controversial film. I love it. A Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake, 2009. Was it 2009? I see a 2010 on here, but I don't know if it came out before that or not. But anyway, Nightmare on Elm Street remake. As I said, controversial film. Most people hate this film. A lot of people didn't like the makeup. They didn't like that Freddy Krueger was a pedophile. They thought the film was boring, whatever. I actually really like this film, and for similar reasons. Well, I don't want to overplay it that I really like the film, but I enjoy this film. I stated this before when talking about Friday the 13th, I believe. When I watch a remake or something like this, I don't necessarily compare it to the original. I'm not saying, is this film better than the original? And I don't think that anybody should, because it's never going to be better than the original. Nostalgia alone is going to blind people to the original. Not saying that the original isn't better. The original Nightmare on Elm Street is way better, okay? But what I compare it to is the last several Nightmare on Elm Street films that have come out. I look at it more so as a sequel. And compared to like Freddy's Dead and some of those other ones, I think this is definitely a step in the right direction. I like the darker tones. Wes Craven was going to make Freddy Krueger a pedophile in the first film, but there was a real life event or something that happened that made him take it out or change his mind. But it's still implied. Like, I don't understand how Freddy can lick Nancy through the phone and say, "I'm your boyfriend now," and not be considered a creep or a pedophile. His hand comes up between her legs in the bathtub. Like, there's definitely heavy symbolism there that apparently a lot of people didn't pick up on. He's always been a creep, and this film just came out and said it. Which, sure, it makes Freddy scarier, which is what I want. I want to forget the goofy Freddy sequels and go back to Freddy Krueger being scary again. I like Jackie Earle Haley. I'm a Watchmen fan, and it was cool to see him in the role. He had some nice lines. I don't know. So I do enjoy this movie. Do I think it's better than the original? Definitely not. But it's an enjoyable film for me. The Orphanage. This one is great. We did this for a movie night. It's really sad. It's, any movie about dead children is going to be kind of sad. It's about an old orphanage and potentially ghosts of dead children. So this is a good watch, but it's not a sit down and eat popcorn and get scared watch so much as it is a good story. So The Orphanage. Overlord really caught me off guard. I had no idea what this movie was, and I just kind of went into it blindish. I knew J.J. Abrams made it, but I didn't know what it was about or what I was getting into. The best way I would describe this movie is if somebody made a war film, but they made it a horror movie. The whole first part of the movie is basically just a war movie, but it's filmed in a way that makes it feel like a horror film. And then it's got some other surprises toward the end. I don't want to spoil anything, but it was great. And it's got new Captain America on there. Grey Worm's in here too, and Euron Greyjoy. It's got some Game of Thronesies in there. So, good movie. Check it out. Next one's one of my favorites. A Perfect Getaway. So, in my opinion, this is one of the most underrated films in the thriller genre. It's a whodunit kind of movie. It's got Steve Zahn, Timothy Olyphant. It's great. It's got Chris Hemsworth in it. Mila, I can't say her name, so I'm not going to, from Resident Evil. You guys know who I'm talking about. This movie's wonderful. And if you have not seen this movie, go into it blind. It's a great movie, and I'm always going to recommend it. Predators. This is the one that Jonas threw because he thought it was Predator, but it's actually the good one. And he did talk about this one already. This is great. I'm not a huge Predator fan, but this movie made me want to be a Predator fan. It was pretty good. The cast, the characters, it was great. They get dropped on a planet and they're like, wait, this isn't Earth, and they're being hunted. It's wonderful. Piranha 3D. I think it's Piranha 3D. So this movie is so wonderfully terrible. This movie's great, in the best way. It's got one of the best final sequences that the whole movie's building to this final set piece, and the payoff is definitely worth it. It's funny, and it's also a good watch for horror fans. Prometheus, another movie that a lot of people hate, but I like it. I don't want to get too deep into this. I am a fan of the Alien world building and the Alien movies more so than the Predator movies. And I think that Prometheus was a fun and intriguing film, to say the least. So Prometheus is a win for me. Next, I'm going to pull all these out here. Next we have the first three Purge films. The middle one's missing a slipcover, unfortunately, but they're pretty nice. They're thick. How many people care about slipcovers? Probably not a lot, but I do for some reason. I think it makes them look nicer for my collection, and I guess it keeps the actual Blu-rays from getting scuffed up. Not that keeping them in here, not that they get real scuffed up or anything. But I'm actually a really big fan of the original Purge, the first Purge. I know there was a lot of hate around the Purge when it came out because the main complaint was you have no illegal crime around this huge area, and you're going to focus the whole thing inside one house. And people didn't like that. But I always kind of thought, yeah, but you can show that stuff in later movies and get other movies and see that. Like, I'm not too worried about what we're not seeing. I'm just focused on enjoying what we are seeing. And I really like it. I did the Polite Stranger for a costume for one of my Halloween parties and had a real good time. So the first Purge, I'm a pretty big fan of, and now we have all these other movies where we get to see what's going on everywhere else, and I think that only makes the first one better. I've only seen this one maybe once, so this is one I'd like to go back and watch again. But Purge 2, Purge Anarchy, and then Purge Election Year, which Jonas hates this movie, which makes it even better. No, I remember really liking this, Purge Election Year. And I know Jonas said there's a lot of gun scenes, but I didn't really notice, and it didn't bother me. So, the Purge movies I think are pretty good. I've been watching the Purge series, which is okay. I think more good comes from it than bad. It is very television TV. They have a limited budget and such, but they tell good, interesting Purge stories. And I did see the first Purge in theaters, but I don't remember thinking it was too great. So I never went out of my way to pick it up. I might at some point. So yeah, The Purge. Next we have A Quiet Place. Everybody knows this movie's good. Look at that beard on John Krasinski. A Quiet Place 2 comes out this weekend. I just dated the video, oh well. And I'm gonna go see it with some friends. So that'll be fun. Quiet Place. The Raven. I'm just a John Cusack fan. So that's why I have this film. I don't remember too much about it, whether it was good or bad. I remember not hating it or anything, hence why I still have it. But that's one that maybe I'll give another watch soon. But John Cusack's always a win. The Sacrament. So The Sacrament is a hard watch. Eli Roth presents, so I'm sure you can make that assessment already. This is another cult film, of course, because why not? And it's a found footage cult film. Someone's going to look after their sister who's been recruited into this camp, this sort of utopia that's run by this father figure, and I bet you can guess where it goes from there. I think it's a really good horror movie, but I think it's also a really hard watch. For me anyway. I don't know, the cult stuff just really gets to me. So The Sacrament. Well-made movie. Scary Movie 1, 2, and 3 on Blu-ray. I picked this up on the Family Video website, I think, that or Best Buy's website. These are just must-haves if you're die-hard movie fans. I'm sorry, die-hard horror movie fans. I've always thought that the first couple of these were pretty funny. And you don't really need any past 3. They kept making them, but they only got worse. So I got the necessities there. Now Scream, I have the 5 film set. It says 5 film because it's got some documentaries on here, which I have watched. But it's just got Scream, Scream 2, Scream 3. So it should say 3 film plus bonuses. But I love the Scream franchise, if you can't tell up here. Got my little Scream shrine going. Got my autograph from conventions, so that started. And then yeah, so if you can't tell, I'm a little bit of a Scream fan, so the Scream movies on Blu-ray were a must. So Scream 1, 2, 3, some documentaries, and then Scream 4, of course. I love them all. I know the third one is the worst, but I still watch it. I still think Scream as a horror franchise definitely holds up consistently throughout the franchise a lot better than say like Nightmare on Elm Street, where you've got some rough patches between movies 4 to 6 or whatever, you know. Scream has less movies, but Scream's worst movie is better than a lot of other franchises' worst movies, you know. They're not in space yet, anyway, so I'll say yet, but they're not in space yet, so that's saying something. I'll pull these 2 out. We got See No Evil. Sorry about that. We got See No Evil 1 and 2. Really only need 1. They came out with the second one a lot later down the line, and it was like, oh, okay, I guess they're making a sequel to that movie, even though they shouldn't. But I had to see it. I had to check it out. I'm not huge on it. I think the first one's better, and even then a lot of people probably didn't care about the first one because it was like an MTV movie. So a lot of people probably wrote it off then and there. But I used to like it when I was in school. And I watched it the other day, and I honestly think it holds up a bit. So I'll defend this one, not so much this one, but it exists, and it wasn't terrible. It wasn't like the Wrong Turn sequels, you know, where it's super bad, you can't make it through the movie. I definitely made it through the movie. It was a movie. And it's in my collection. I probably won't get rid of it just because of the nostalgia of the series. Shaun of the Dead. I've got a nice Blu-ray steelbook here. Limited edition. I'm sure it's a lot less limited than it says. They just wanted to sell it. But Walmart makes a lot of these comic panel looking steelbooks. Shaun of the Dead's great. Everybody knows it. I don't need to talk about it too much. Edgar Wright's the best director to grace my screen ever. So we'll go into The Shining, which honestly is another one I don't need to talk too much about, but I have a nice steelbook here. Got Jack on the back. I just like the dark ambiguity of this, just the floating red rum door. Let's look on the inside and see if it's... Okay, we got the classic axe coming through the door there. Nothing too crazy, but I like this steelbook. With movies this popular, you kind of get your choice in steelbook because they're gonna make more than one. And this is the one that I chose. So, another steelbook. We got 3 in a row here. Shutter Island. Shutter Island is another one of my favorite films. This came out, I want to say this came out when I was in school and I was in my mass buying movie phase from Movie Gallery. It used to be a thing, and that was over. Nothing on the inside, not super fancy, but an older movie on Blu-ray and in a steelbook, so I'm content with that. It's got the traditional Shutter Island cover for the image. Silence of the Lambs. This is another popular one, another big one. I'm not huge on Silence of the Lambs, but I think it's a good movie. Like, this is a decent movie. As far as the other Hannibal and Red Dragon movies and stuff go, I'm not a big fan. I'm actually a lot bigger fan of the series, the Hannibal TV series, with Mads Mikkelsen as Hannibal Lecter. Sinister is going to be the last one that we do today, because I think this video has gone on a while. I think part 4 will be the final video in my Blu-ray collection. So Sinister's great. A lot of people have talked about this movie, and I know it gets a lot of mixed reception. There are people that really praise Sinister, and there are people that think it's a lazy movie. Most of the people that I talk to personally like this film. I remember being in theaters and watching it, and the lawnmower scene, you know what I'm talking about. That's such an effective jump scare. Bagul's a cool, creepy antagonist. I just love it. So we're gonna leave off with Sinister. We made it through all these guys. If you haven't seen the other videos, check them out, because you're missing a good portion of the collection here. And then next time we'll finish the end. So join us. If you guys like the video, check out the other videos. You're doing us a big favor by liking. You know, get in the comments, let us know what you guys think. What are your favorite movies? Do you agree or disagree with my thoughts? Let us know. Thanks for checking us out, guys. This is the Knife Shift, clocking out.